What's up, guys? It's Rodog Speaks back with another video for you. Today I wanted to talk about something that is a subject that's kind of close to my heart and I care a lot about, and just because it just feels so personal, because I know people who are having these issues. And as you'll probably know, Rishi Sunak did a speech conference last Friday to talk about sick note Britain and the sick note culture that we have in this country, and the fact that we're too reliant on medications and stuff, and we need to get our asses back out to the workplace because there's too many ill people. So we're going to crack down on benefits and overhaul the PIP assessments, etc. And a lot of people rightly respond to this as an outright assault on disabled, sick and ill people, especially those with long-term health conditions. And I'm so fed up of these constant attacks on vulnerable people, people who are often maligned in society, as there's something wrong, something the matter, and we have to do something about it. It's so very reactive and reductive, and it's just really a really nasty, horrible way of trying to solve a problem. It doesn't solve any problem. You're just reacting to it and hopefully hoping that you'll get votes out of it, which is really cynical and quite disgusting. So it started off with migrants, right? There's too many illegal migrants coming to this country on small boats. We have to send them to Rwanda. That's the solution. There's so many protests happening. They're too noisy protests. We'll have to arrest everybody that's being too disruptive and noisy on the street. Let's do that. The doctors and junior doctors are striking. Oh my gosh, it's their fault. It's all the doctors' fault that there's really long waiting lists in hospitals and nobody can be seen, and people are waiting in corridors for hours and hours, and they might die because they're waiting too long for an ambulance to get to them. It's all their fault because they're going on strike and there's nothing we could possibly do, and it's all their fault. Let's just blame everybody who we don't like. Now it's just the turn of sick people. There's too many ill, sick, disabled people, even though there's just been a massive pandemic and people are off long term with long COVID, all sorts of post-viral issues and amongst other things. But hey, let's go out and attack these people and see if we can garner votes out of it, because look over there's a sick person, or they might be faking it on benefits, and that's coming out of your taxes, so you better get mad. So on Monday, which was a couple of days ago, there was a green paper consultation issued, which will invite everybody to share their views and opinions on what they think should happen or is going to happen. I don't know if that will make any jot of difference. But I think what the plans include are to replace the current PIP system, which gives people cash benefits and payments, and replace that with either like a voucher scheme or one-off grants, which will cover things like home domestic appliances or things that are needed in that area. I just don't understand how feasible that is and how that can work long term. Another idea put forward is, instead of having GPs, doctors, issue sick notes to people, they are gonna have another health representative, probably from the DWP, to assess people's fitness for work, which I don't understand either, because that would also include people who are employed and are working. So if, somebody goes off sick and they can't get in touch with their doctor, how are they going to be assessed? Is their illness going to be looked at? Like, are they how physically able-bodied are they? Like, are they just going to be forced into the workplace even though they clearly can't do anything? Part of Rishi Sunak's speech last week, he sort of just conflated employed people who are short-term sick because they're ill and long-term sick people who are receiving benefits. Because when you get a sick note, that is because you are in work and you're just ill and you have to get a sick note from the doctor to say that you can't come in. So yes, those people are actually employed and they have jobs and they go into work, and heaven forbid someone actually gets ill or some people get sick, because it happens, Rishi. People get sick and they can't come into work and they can't work and they have to stay at home because they'll spread germs. So there's an article on The Independent that says, that talks about this and says that since COVID, the number of people out of work due to long-term sickness has risen significantly, reaching 2.8 million people in February. In a speech that Rishi Sunak made on Friday, he said the risk of over-medicalising the everyday challenges and worries of life, as he railed against people being parked on welfare. But, again, it's so reactive, and you're responding to a problem just because you see an election coming up and you think you might be able to score an opportunity to attack really vulnerable people. And instead of trying to tackle the problem of, maybe ask yourself why. Why are there so many sick people? Why are there so many long-term sick people? Why has anxiety increased in young people? Why has depression gone up? Yes, we've had a pandemic, but we've also had over a decade's worth of austerity where the government's just slashed public services and mental health support for people, and the NHS has been cut to the bone, so people can't access mental health services and psychotherapy and other counselling that they would have otherwise been able to go to, and now they can't. They have to either go private or just sit languishing on a waiting list. And do you know what that does to somebody's mental health? It makes them feel worse. And what can you do about that when there's no funding going into anything? Nobody wants to be long-term sick. Nobody wants to have long COVID and just have this such debilitating illness that it means they can't go out of the house. It means they have to stay in bed. It means they have to have all this medication and they have to, go on assessments. Do you think people want to do that, Rishi? Do you think people enjoy taking the piss and every single day just claiming money off the state because they think it's a good laugh? Really? Really? People don't enjoy that at all. It's not a joke. People are really suffering, and people have to jump through so many hoops to have these assessments done. People have actually died being declared fit for work. There's actually a case study of it. People have died after being declared fit for work by the DWP. It's awful, and the intrusive questions, the forms you have to fill in, the hoops you have to jump through in order to receive any sort of benefit is insane. And I don't think he understands that. I don't think any of this Tory government understand it. And I just think there's just, like I keep saying, they're just trying to get votes, and it's so cynical, and it's just yet another assault on another vulnerable group of people, and they're just thinking, who can we attack next? It's disgusting. And I've seen so many people on my Twitter feed really anxious, really worried about what these reforms will entail, and how it will work, and are they going to get their benefits stripped, and what will happen to them, and how they're going to live, and what will they have to do next. Like I see this most days in my job at the library, where we get a lot of, vulnerable people through the door, a lot of elderly people, a lot of people with, various issues. Maybe they're, an alcoholic, maybe they've got depression, maybe they're out of work, any sort of circumstance. They a lot of the time don't know how to use computers, so they can't apply for things online because they don't really know how to type on a keyboard or use a mouse or things like that. Even though like there are, basic IT courses, but they don't have their own computer at home because they can't afford one. And they rely on, the very little public services that there are left in this country to get help. And we're doing absolutely all that we can, but it's really, really hard, and some people are just like really struggling to do it themselves. And there's other people, that disabled people who can't like physically walk, or have got things like ME, or other long-term health conditions. Long COVID is another one, which is still not fully understood by health professionals, let alone employers. And that still needs to be like properly sort of looked into and sympathised with, because it's a serious thing that's affecting many people, and I just don't think enough people take it seriously, or can understand the reasons, the causes as to, why are people struggling? Why are people not being able to get into work? What can we do to help them? Is there a way that we can get them back and maybe do it piecemeal and help them and support them in some other way? But no, it's just a blanket. If you're on benefits and you can't get a job in 12 months, we're going to take everything away from you because you're lazy. It just drives me up the wall. It drives me up the wall how people just don't grasp like the reasons, the symptoms, why this is happening. They can't be bothered to understand why this could possibly be happening after everything that we've gone through as a country, after 14 years of Tory austerity rule and like public services cut to the bone, where people can't access mental health support anymore. There's no youth centres. Like 200, 300 odd libraries have been closed. There's no help for anybody. Where can people go to get help? You can't. And then that makes you more depressed. That makes you more anxious. You can't afford things because prices are going up at the supermarket. The price of housing has gone up. Cost of living, everything. You can't afford to get clothes and food for your children. That's stressful. But they don't understand it, and they don't care to understand it, and it drives me mad. So yeah, that's what I think about the latest news on sick culture Britain and what Rishi Sunak has to say. Yeah, so that's that for today. Don't forget to comment and subscribe on my channel. Give it a thumbs up. It always helps the algorithm if you do. Subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Thanks a lot, guys.